Shalom Bracha from Yerushalayim. We have completed the recent videos about the Mesader, the one in charge of giving out the honors, and last video we did a demonstration of taking the Sefer Torah out of the Hechal according to our customs and bringing it to the Teva. We've had some very interesting feedback and comments. We appreciate it. And I did want to convey two of them which I feel are important. One from a very seasoned Mesader, and he spoke to me and he told me, I was very particular, especially when there's guests in the synagogue, to give very detailed instructions to the one who has the Petihah, the people carrying the Sefer, so that there's no confusion, there's no awkwardness, there's no, God forbid, we don't want to see anybody embarrassed, and they're not familiar with the intricacies of the Minhagim. We have to tell them exactly where to stand, when to open the Echad, what to take. We tell them in advance so that they're comfortable and know exactly what to do and when to do it. The people carrying the Sefer, where to stand. One will keep putting the Rimunim on, where to stand. And this way everything is done in a very efficient manner without any confusion. The second comment regarding the closing of the Echad, in our last video we closed the Echad. Obviously the custom is to close the Echad and not leave it open after we finish the Petihah. But there is a custom in a couple of kehilot, namely Janice, and I was told also in Bet Torah, where the Hechal, the doors are left open, but the parochet is closed. Now this can be done in certainly the beautiful Hechal of Janice, where the doors slide up and down, so it doesn't interfere, and it's aesthetically very pleasing, where you have a beautiful parochet, and you only close the doors after you bring back the Sefarim. It's done also in Bet Torah, that's what I was told. Now it can't be done with every Hechal, because certain Hechalim, if you leave them open, the doors interfere with the seating maybe of the rabbi, the Hazan on the platform. Possibly it's just not aesthetically pleasing. Also it's very important that the parochet is behind the doors and you can close the parochet. So it's a custom I did want to bring to your attention, even though it doesn't apply in all cases, but it's important to know. A couple of points I wanted to make to round out and complete the subject of the Petihah, and hopefully we'll go on to the Sefer Torah in our next video. Our textual variants when it comes to Atah Ve'et Al-Adat, which is found on page 284 in the most recent edition of Kol Yaakov. As you know, after Kaddish Kabbalah, the Kahal breaks out singing Atah Ve'et Al-Adat, these 8 pesukim, which there are reasons why there are 8. We won't go into it now. And as we sing it, we have a pasuk after. Now that's not the entire pasuk. In Bamidbar, the pasuk begins with Vayibin Soah Haaron, Vayomer Moshe, but the first half of the pasuk is not printed in Kol Yaakov, and indeed is not said in the community in New York. Now it's important when we talk about customs, you understand what we say, and sometimes you understand what we don't say. Because you will encounter it in other kehilot outside, other Syrian kehilot outside of Brooklyn. For instance, in Israel, in Argentina, it's a very big kehillah, they say, Vayim Zohar Aaron, and it's reflected also in their Sidur Sukkot David. So we do say it outside of the community of Brooklyn. For some reason, the Brooklyn community does not say this, the first half of this pasuk. I don't have a reason as to why, I just want to let you know what is done. Finally, we sing Atah Ve'et Al-Adat. It's an old prayer, seems to have come from Sepharad, because we see it quoted even by Abu Darham and other Rishonim, which is quite 500-600 years ago. But if you look at, and we notice the Sephardim came to Halab in the 16th century for the most part. If you look at the Sidur, what's called the Mahzor Aram Soba, and if you look at Petihah of Shabbat, taking out the Sefer Torah, it begins with Milo Yeracha Melech HaGoyim, completely different prayer. Now we don't say that today, and in fact Brooklyn, nobody even knows this prayer exists. Argentina, they don't say it. But this was the Musta'aravi, the local Alapid community, before Sephardim came, this was their prayer. In fact, up until the middle of the 20th century, when the Bet Knesset Gadol was still run with using the Musta'aravi customs, it was recorded, the customs are recorded by the famous Hakam Selim Za'farani alav shalom They said they used to say Milo Iracha. They never said Tauret al-Ada'at. Again, it's important that we're discussing customs. We know all the customs of the Syrian community, even from Halab. So you have one custom which said Milo Iracha all the time. One custom which said Tauret al-Ada'at all the time, every Shabbat. And that is what prevailed once they left Halab and went all over the world. That's what we say. But there is a third custom. And that is that we do say Milo Iracha on Shabbatot where we take out 3 Sefarim. Now this happens in Simchat Torah. It possibly happens on Shabbat Hanukkah if it's Rosh Chodesh, or Shabbat HaChodesh if it's Rosh Chodesh, before Pesach. And they will, after they sing Tauret al-Ada'at, when they take all the Sefarim out in the hands of the people who are carrying them, the Hazan or the Hacham will begin Milo Iracha, a beautiful tune, and the Kahal, there are certain places where the Kahal responds. We do that at Ades. They don't do it in Brooklyn and Argentina. But it's recorded in the Sefer Minhagim, written by Hamram Ades, compiled by him, called Derech Eretz. He records that the custom did exist in certain kehilot to say Milo Iracha when we take out 3 Sefarim. Call to